Having looked at the very basics of video editing, including cutting, ordering, etc., let's now look at the more creative bit, which is adding special effects. Special effects are very, very easy. All we have to do is go into Effects here and choose the Video Effects folder, and we toggle that down, and as you can see there are a variety of different types of effects, and all of these bins have lots and lots of different effects in them. The only way to really get to know these effects is to try them and just play around with them really. But let's start with two basic types of effects. The first one is what we call a static effect. In other words, you can't control it in any way. If I give you an example of this, if we go under blur, I'm going to choose an effect called ghosting. Now, in order to apply an effect, what we do is we select it and we drag it over to the clip itself. Now, if you have a look very carefully over here at my footage in the window, you'll see that there's a slight sort of ghosting quality to the person there. Their head lags behind the rest of the movements of their body. And that effect is just applied as it is, and there's nothing I can do to it beyond that. However, most of these effects are controllable. You can control the extent to which they blur or they change color, etc., etc. Let me give you two examples here. The first one is under Generate, and it's a lens flare effect. So what we can do with this lens flare is we can drag it again over my wildlife clip, and I'll just take it over here. Now you can see the lens flare is in the middle of the screen over here. Now to control that, there are a variety of different ways that I can control it. We go to the Effects Controls tab and select the clip, make sure that's selected, and you see here's my lens flare. And what I need to do here is toggle that down, and that gives me a whole load of different controls. The controls you have will depend on the effect you have, so play around with them. Here, what I can control is the flare center, for instance. I can move that around. I can move it up, down, and I can position it exactly where I want. I'm going to actually pull it over there. I can also adjust the flare brightness there. You can see that's not so bright there. Or I can really push the brightness to there. Okay, I can play around with different lens types as well. You'll see that each different lens type produces a slightly different type of lens flare, and I can play around with blending by just all I do here is I select the number, and I can either input a value, let's say 50, or I can just regulate it by going up and down using the mouse. And you can see that has a little bit of an effect. If you want to compare what you were doing just then to the original clip, this little F button gives us a function. It allows us to toggle the effect on or off. So if we click it, you can see the clip before the effect, and if I click it again, you can see that this time it's a lot lighter, and that wasn't particularly what I wanted. The second type of control I can exercise is control over time. For instance, if I was to put, let me see, a color correction over this one here. Let's select color balance HLS, that's hue, light and saturation, and drag it onto this clip here. Now what I do here is I go into the effects control, and again I've got my controls here that I showed you just a second ago, and you can see that I can desaturate this completely so that there's no color there, or I can oversaturate it so there's far too much color and it starts to look a bit weird. However, over time we can control this too. What I would like is for the duration of this title for it to gradually become black and white. So I'm going to play it here and work out where the end of the title is, and I'm just going to position it to the right place. There we go, that's roughly right. You can see it down here on the timeline. In fact, I'm just going to squeeze that up using the slider for you. So what we do here to control over time is we use these keyframes exactly as we were using for opacity and volume. What I'm saying is at this point here where I've got it, I want it to be black and white. So I press the keyframe and I alter the value. There we go. However, I've now adjusted that for the whole clip. So I'm going to take it right back to the beginning here, and I am going to alter this. Now what you'll notice is that as I alter it, a keyframe automatically appeared where I'd put a different value. So that's essentially saying I'm going from that value to that value. This is full color, as you can see when I play it, and it gradually goes to black and white. And then it will stay in black and white because I haven't altered this setting and said, well, that's got to change from black and white. So actually what I could have here is I could put it back to color. I'm going to put that back to 0, and that means that that should be my normal color, but from here it should go from black and white. So let's test this out. Full color here, I play it, it should gradually disappear the color, and now it should start to come back in until it's normal color. That is how to control an effect over time, and you can do an awful lot of things there to alter your effects. The other interesting thing is when you start combining effects, and that really starts to push the boat out and you can get really creative. So don't be afraid to put more effects on one single clip.